It's 3 a.m. Your phone battery is dying. You've been scrolling for 6 hours straight. First, it was just checking one thing. Then somehow you ended up watching a man build a bamboo house in the forest. Sound familiar? You're probably here because you've tried to quit something before, and you failed. Maybe it was smoking, drinking, biting your nails, gambling, you name it.
You're not alone. Believe me, I've been there too. I knew I had to stop doom scrolling on my phone at night. I'd lie there telling myself, just 5 more minutes. But every single night, I'd wake up the next morning exhausted, promising myself, never again.
And by that same night, you guessed it, right back at it. I felt stuck, frustrated. I was stuck in a loop, and trying harder wasn't cutting it. I've also struggled with procrastination for a while. I once spent an entire morning designing the perfect plan to stop procrastinating. I wrote it all down in a fancy notebook, color-coded and everything. Then, to celebrate how productive I was going to be, I decided to check my notifications for just 1 second. 4 hours later, I found myself deeply invested in marble racing videos, and genuinely disappointed when the marble I was rooting for lost. From there, I somehow ended up scrolling through a complete stranger's vacation photos on Instagram, silently judging the way they held their wine glass like it was a soda can. I didn't know this person. It was almost noon, and the only thing I had to show for my morning was a fiercely strong and completely unsolicited opinion on proper wine etiquette. My dreams felt distant. I felt like a champion of failure. Here's what I slowly began to realize. Habits aren't just things you do. They're things you do without thinking. And that's what makes them so powerful. Good habits, done consistently, are like compound interest. They build a better future without you even noticing. But bad habits? They work the same way, just in reverse. They quietly drain your time, your energy, and your potential. The uncomfortable truth is this. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. Your success is the product of your daily habits. Breaking bad habits is the difference between living life by design or drifting into a life you never wanted. So the real question is, how do you break your bad habits before they break you? Here's the secret. You only feel trapped by a habit because you're fighting the symptom, not the system. You think the problem is the cookie, the cigarette, the procrastination. It's not. The real problem isn't the habit itself. It's the automatic mental wiring that drives you toward that behavior. But here's the good news. Once you discover how habits work, you will never feel trapped again. You'll realize you were never stuck in a cage. You were just in a room you didn't know how to leave. Here's the thing about bad habits. They always have 2 parts, the trigger and the root cause. The trigger is what sets it off. It's the specific event or feeling that happens right before you do the habit. It's that tiny cue that flips the switch before you even notice. Your phone pings, you grab it. You walk past a bakery and suddenly you're buying a croissant. You catch a whiff of cigarettes and instantly you're craving one. It's situational, external, or an immediate feeling. The root cause is the deeper, underlying need, lack, or belief the habit is trying to satisfy, but in an unhealthy way. It's the reason the trigger has so much power over you, the reason the habit sticks, and it usually runs deep. Emotional, psychological, or some unmet need you haven't dealt with yet. Stress eating isn't really about food, it's about stress. Doom scrolling isn't really about your phone, it's about boredom or loneliness. That's the engine driving the whole cycle. Now, to make this less like a psychology lecture and more like real life, let's put it this way. Bad habits are like a toxic ex. The trigger is the text you get at 2 a.m. Hey, you up? The root cause is why you keep texting back. Maybe you don't want to feel alone. Maybe you're chasing a bit of validation. Or maybe it's just that quick little dopamine hit. Here's the thing. Until you deal with both, the text and the reason you keep giving in, you'll stay in the loop. You'll promise yourself never again. And then, before you know it, you're back on their Instagram. Habits are also like weeds in a garden. This is the visible behavior, the act of smoking, drinking, scrolling, snacking, or procrastinating. It's what everyone sees, and it's what you're trying to get rid of. But here's the catch. Weeds don't just pop up for no reason. The trigger is like the rain. Rain is the immediate external event that makes the weeds shoot up today. Triggers work the same way. They're the time of day, the place you're in, the feeling you have, or the person you're with that sparks the habit into action. And then there's the root cause. That's the root system beneath the soil. You can cut the weed 100 times, but it still grows back because the roots are feeding it. Bad habits thrive the same way. Unless you deal with what's fueling them underneath, they'll just keep growing back. And this is why willpower, the thing most people rely on, doesn't really work. Willpower is like yanking weeds out by hand. Sure, it looks good for a day or two, and you feel proud for a moment, but the roots are still in the ground, which means the weeds always come back. The next time it rains, boom, new weeds, sometimes even bigger than before. The root cause is the real reason underneath it all, like stress, boredom, lack of purpose, fear of failure, or a need for comfort. The weed you see on the surface is only a symptom of what's going on in the roots. Alright, so if you're serious about breaking a bad habit for good, you need a two-part game plan. That means dealing with the triggers that set you off and digging into the root cause that keeps you coming back. Let's break it down. First up, phase 1, remove the triggers. Think of this as emergency first aid for your willpower. You're making the habit so inconvenient or impossible that you don't have to rely on self-control all the time. This is your immediate defense. It stops the damage right now. Trying to work on the deep stuff while you're still getting bombarded by temptations is like trying to rebuild your house while it's still on fire. Not exactly effective, right? So start by identifying your triggers. For the next few days, don't even try to fight the habit. Just observe. Keep a note in your phone or jot it down on paper every time you slip up. Ask yourself, what time is it? Where am I? How do I feel? Are you stressed, bored, tired, maybe even a bit lonely? Who's around? Is it that one friend who always says, "Come on, just one drink won't hurt"? And what happened right before? You'll start noticing patterns. Maybe it's seeing cigarettes on the counter and suddenly you light up, hearing your phone buzz, and 5 minutes later, you're doom-scrolling. You're just walking home, minding your own business. You see a bakery, you smell the butter, and somehow, without even deciding to, you're walking out with a croissant. You didn't actually choose the croissant. Your environment set it off, and you just followed through. Once you know your triggers, you can set up your environment to work for you, not against you. If scrolling keeps you up at night, leave your phone across the room, or better yet, outside the bedroom. If you drink whenever you see alcohol in the fridge, don't keep it at home. If you snack out of boredom, delete those food delivery apps. And if gambling ads tempt you, block the sites and unsubscribe from the promos. This isn't a permanent fix, but it gives you breathing room and, honestly, a few quick wins to build momentum. Successfully avoiding the habit, even for a couple days, proves to you that change is possible. But here's the thing. You can't just stop at avoiding triggers forever. Life happens. A bad day will come, and if you haven't dealt with why the habit exists in the first place, you'll slide right back. That's where phase 2 comes in. Address the root cause. This is where you stop just cutting the weeds and finally pull them out by the roots. Let's say you stress eat when you're tired. Keeping junk food out of the house is a great start, but it's only half the battle. Stress eating isn't about real hunger. It's about comfort. It's your brain looking for quick relief when you're stressed, sad, bored, or just plain drained. And unless you deal with that, being tired will always push you back to food, and the cycle keeps going. So you need to dig deeper. Ask yourself the third why. Why do I want this? Because I'm stressed. Why does stress make me want this? Because it comforts me. Why do I need comfort this way? Because I haven't found another way to relax. Bingo, now you've found the root. From there, you want to find a healthier replacement that meets the same need. Say you usually grab a beer after a stressful day. You could swap it for a quick workout to burn off the tension, a cold shower, or even a walk outside to reset your mind. If stress makes you want a cigarette, swap it for chewing gum, a glass of water, or a quick walk outside. And if you're lonely, don't just snack to fill the silence. Call a friend, listen to a funny podcast, or put yourself in a space where you're around people. That's how you build lasting change, not by fighting yourself, but by understanding yourself and giving your brain a healthier outlet. You're not just quitting old habits, you're teaching your brain new, better habits. Putting it all together looks like this. If your goal is to stop procrastinating and scrolling when you should be working, start by removing triggers. Turn off notifications, put your phone in another room, use a website blocker. Then, address the root cause. Ask why you procrastinate. Maybe it's fear of starting something hard. So instead of scrolling, you make it simple. Just take the tiniest first step, like opening the document. That way, you're not just resisting a habit, you're redesigning your life so the habit doesn't even fit. You go from constantly pulling weeds to becoming the gardener who designs a landscape where weeds can't grow. It's a powerful shift, and it's how you make change stick for good. So start with your triggers. Give yourself that immediate win. Take back control of your surroundings, build a little momentum, and prove to yourself that change is possible. You first need to stop the bleeding before you treat the disease. But don't stop there. Once you've cleaned up your surroundings and gotten some quick wins, it's time to gently shift your focus to the real reason behind your habit. Ask yourself the hard questions. What is this habit actually doing for me? Why do I keep turning to it? Be honest with yourself. Then find a healthier way to get what you're really looking for. That's how you go from just dealing with the problem over and over to actually fixing it for good.